Hi guys! Today's video is about time. Now, I hear people say all the time that they don't have the time to do this or to do that. Sorry about that, I got disconnected. Today's video is about time. I hear all the time people saying that they don't have the time to make these changes or to do this or to do that in their lives. But is it real? And is our perception of time skewed? Like, how do we actually not have the time to do something when in reality we're in control of our own time? Recently, I read a book called The Big Leap. Now, I really encourage anyone and everyone to read this book. It was really good. And in that book, time is discussed as something that we should have control over rather than it having control over us. Now, an analogy was used, and I'm going to go through the scenario with you to make you think about this differently. You're working from home right now, which most people are, and your child walks into your office where you're working and says, "Mum, Dad, can you play with me?" And you reply saying, "I can't right now, I don't have the time, I'm working, maybe later." Now, if you compare this scenario to your child walking into the same office environment that you're working in, and they've cut their knee open and there's blood everywhere. Now, you're not going to say to your child, "I don't have the time to deal with this right now," because of course you're going to deal with it. It's an emergency. Whether you have the time to or not, you have to deal with your child crying because they have blood everywhere and they've hurt themselves. But in actuality, you have the same amount of time that you would have used to play with them as you need to use to now stem the blood that's pouring out of their knee. So really, you didn't want to play with them when you were first asked the question. You allowed yourself to become a victim of time. Rather than saying, "I have to finish what I'm working on right now," you allowed yourself to use time as an excuse and saying that you didn't have it to play with your child. If we look at things and our lives this way, then if you compare it to your own health and wellness, when are you going to deal with emergencies and situations in your life? So think of it this way. You don't have the time right now to deal with your ever-increasing waistline and your BMI that's going up every time you visit the doctors. You don't have the time right now to deal with your body's pre-diabetic condition. You're very aware that your fitness is deteriorating. It's the worst it's been in years. You get gassed out when you climb up the stairs, but you'll deal with it when you have the time. So when is that? Because many of us are happy to sit behind the excuse that we create for ourselves about time, and we are happy to fall victim to it and say things like, "Oh, I'll start that next week," or "I haven't got the time to do that right now. I'm really busy. I've got loads on. Soon as I've got a bit of spare time, I'll make those changes." When really that can go on and on and on and on. And before you know it, you've allowed yourself to deteriorate. You've allowed yourself to gain a massive amount of weight. You've allowed yourself to get really unhealthy. You may feel fat. You might not feel confident because you've allowed this perception of time to just go on and on and on. And at some point, you have to rein that in and take some control. So going back to the analogy I used earlier, you acted when your child had an emergency, but not when your child first wanted to play with you. So does that mean that you're only going to act on yourself? You're only going to act and change yourselves when you become critically ill or severely overweight, but not act any sooner because you simply don't have the time? Because if you live your life this way, you're going to get to a situation where you have to spend more time rectifying your own health. You know, when you get to a point where when you've gained a lot of weight, your mobility decreases. Doing things you used to do when you were at a smaller size or a smaller weight or a better health becomes harder. So it takes longer. It takes double the time to get back to where you were. So allowing yourself to get to that point in the first place is obviously your first mistake. But secondly, falling victim to time day in, day out and using it as an excuse is your second mistake. You know, the moral of this story is that everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. So yeah, you know, think about how you view time and what you consider to be a good use of your time. Find the time to prioritize your health, as nobody else is going to do that for you. It's your own health, it's your own body, it's your own mind, and only you can look after that, and only you can make changes to that, and only you can find the time to prioritize those things in your life. If you find that you have a really, really busy schedule, I had a consultation last week, and I spoke to somebody who has a crazy busy schedule. And my question to her was that if you do things that no longer serve you or give you purpose, then maybe it's about time you replaced those things in your life and started to build new habits to prioritize the things that are important to you right now. So just some food for thought, guys. Start thinking about the way you view time and start prioritizing what's important to you and fit into the time that you have available to you right now. I hope you all have a great Thursday, and I will catch you again soon.